going on, Minnesota Viking fans? Welcome to the Purple People podcast. It is the end of February in 2024, February 26th, and we're inching closer and closer to the NFL draft. The offseason about to start here in a few weeks. And, we took a week off. Not a lot of Viking news to talk about. I was traveling as per usual, but we're here. I'm here with Kyle West and Adam Carlson. Gentlemen, how are we feeling today in the world of Viking news and all these trade speculations or rumors and all this weird stuff that's going on? It's kind of a lull, but
Kyle West, the second most famous thing from Iowa, aside from those meat sandwiches there.
Yeah, this podcast will not be sponsored by Made Right because fuck them and their overpriced sandwiches.
We were talking about loose meat sandwiches in the podcast chat, which is a horrible name because I'm a 14-year-old. But
there's that.
That's it. Maybe a better name, but I like the idea of it. But also, just be a cheeseburger because it's messy.
Yeah, why you gotta chop up that burger?
You're 100% right. It's a sloppy Joe without anything that makes a sloppy Joe good.
That's right. It's okay. I'm sure I see a lot of guys, like a lot of my YouTube stuff is the same. There's a lot of cooking guys that I really enjoy. But man, it just seems like a messy way to do a cheeseburger. Just
the website says it's world famous, though.
Hey, technically, we've had reach across the world. Technically, we're world famous. So if that's
we are. Yeah, we are.
But yeah, let's dive into some Viking news. The biggest thing I wanted to talk about is
I just got to use that every now and then. The Vikings horn, man. We can play it.
We have sound effects now, and it's cool. Kyle West is going to use those periodically when we don't need them, and that's going to make it even better. That was a good one right there. But
yeah,
feel free to just throw in Denny Green whenever you like.
Oh, I will.
About a week ago, the NFL released its information. They're going to increase the cap. Now, this is not anything new. I don't remember the total here for all teams, but I know I'm looking at over the cap right now, and as of today, the Vikings team cap space is $35.8 million, which is great. They're in good standing. There are obviously other teams that have a lot more, but to start slowly climbing out every year of the salary cap hell that the Spielman era was, providing the team was really good.
Perspective. The New Orleans Saints, I believe, are anywhere between 30 and 33 million still under the cap. So even with this massive increase, they're still screwed.
And interestingly enough, it makes sense, but you wouldn't name it off the top of your head. The top three teams in the draft right now, the Bears, the Commanders, and the Patriots, they are all the top three teams with the most cap space. So it kind of makes sense. I'm sure it shuffles around and some teams don't line up, but as it sits right now, the Vikings at 35.8. And it kind of puts into perspective some of the things we've mentioned on the show. If you listen to other Viking podcasts or you follow on Twitter, the three things that we're talking about mainly in the offseason are Kirk Cousins, Justin Jefferson, and a rookie quarterback. Daniil Hunter is a close fourth. But this certainly gives them more breathing room. Do I personally think that all of these things are going to happen? They're going to re-sign Kirk, JJ, Hunter, and draft a rookie QB really high? I don't think that's feasible. But it certainly gives them a better percentage chance to have multiple of those four things happening. And I know this cap situation doesn't necessarily have to do anything with the draft, but you could keep some key players. And I think, will we all agree re-signing Justin Jefferson is priority one, or is it Kirk Cousins?
Well, it's what's come out about him that makes that interesting, that he wants to know the quarterback situation before he signs an extension. So everybody's really impatient about that right now. I mean, they got to pump the brakes a little bit because there's not going to be anything about that until Minnesota makes a decision on what's going on at quarterback.
Now, let me ask the unpopular question that the boomer generation would automatically start angrily misspelling in the comments about this subject. I think it's fair that he would ask that. I don't think that decision hinges on what Justin Jefferson wants, but it's fair to say, hey, can you guys let me know what we're doing?
Yeah, it's a fair conversation. What are we leaning towards? Because there is Other podcasts are not going to like this, but there's a stability with Kirk. I know he was hurt this year, but with him, you know what direction you're going, and if Jefferson's going to sign a long-term contract with the Vikings, he probably doesn't want to go in this every year. We're bringing in another veteran quarterback, and
Right, I think you're right. I think the one thing he wants to avoid is that stopgap quarterback that's not going to be as talented as like Kirk Cousins or not have as much potential as a rookie. I think he'd be okay with either bringing back Kirk or going after one of the top quarterbacks in this draft. I don't think that this is a situation that's going to make to where Minnesota makes a decision unless it's a really bad decision. I don't think Justin Jefferson at any point is going to be like, nope, I'm out.
I think he's out if they say, we're not going to re-sign Kirk, and we're also not going after a rookie.
Well, we got Tannehill.
It's Case Keenum and Ryan Tannehill.
We went and got Ryan Tannehill or whoever ex-quarter. Marcus Mariota's getting his third career resurgence in Minnesota. Whatever. Yeah. Well, I bring it up because I watched something interesting today. Joel Klatt, I'm a big fan of his, and I like, you guys know if you've listened to me on the show, Cowherd pops up a lot. I like to hear the topics, not so much a person, but I kind of stay away from McAfee. I love McAfee and the boys, but honestly, I'm not a fan of his show. Sorry, Pat, if you ever read it. I love you to death, and I'm happy for your success, but Jesus Christ, he turns every question into a paragraph where he basically answers it for the person, and I'm like, could you shut the hell up and let them answer? I forgot what we were asking in the first part, but I listened to Joel Klatt because he's a college guy, and he had an interesting video you should probably go check out if you want. The top pass catchers, and they say that not top wide receivers because he had to throw in the tight end Brock Bowers in there. But he had a great point, and this goes back to the last episode we had, 550. You guys can check it out. We talked about the Super Bowl recap, and I brought up the rumors that would you trade Justin Jefferson? This is why I'm not a GM. I would at least take phone calls about it. Here's a good point that I heard from Joel Klatt today. If you look back in the last 8 years at the Super Bowl winning teams, now caveat is you have great quarterbacks, head coach, general manager, the draft was great, you nailed it, all those things. None of them had, outside of Tyreek Hill, a superstar wide receiver. And I don't put Cooper Kupp in that class because he's had one good season. Cool, it was a good year, and you won
a Triple Crown year, yeah.
Good year, but consistently, is he going to be the guy that everybody's like mentioning in the breath of Adams and Hill and Jefferson? Not quite. Every year, though, 7 out of those 8 years, there's dominant tight ends. Kelsey twice, Gronk once. Was it Ertz with Philadelphia that last year? He led the team in receiving there. We have a good tight end. What I'm saying and what Joel Klatt said was, this is not the need of a team that needs to win a championship. It is a luxury piece. So I'm not back on the train to convince any of you that you should want Justin Jefferson traded. Last week I said, and I stand firm, I believe he's going to stay on the team. I have no doubt they're going to sign him to a huge deal. But I would at least take phone calls to see, because guess what? If you're going to take that swing, and mind you, and I'll shut up after this point, you got to think, the Vikings recently were interested in drafting Fields. They were close. That report came out. And last year, they were flirting with the idea of going up to 4 to get Anthony Richardson. They are ready to go up and get a quarterback. And I think if you were going to do it, that would be the asset that would be a no-brainer. And you don't have to give up and leverage so much of the future. But you do have to live with an angry fan base. And you better hope the hell you keep nailing these wide receiver drafts, because Jordan Addison's not a number 1. He's not. Maybe he turns into one. Maybe he could be like a Percy Harvin with the size and the skill. But I think that's the easiest way to get what you want in a quarterback, but I'm just selfish. I want them to go up and get Drake May, and I don't think he's going past number 2. And I don't know how the hell you get up that far.
Is it bad of me to say that I would rather give up a future first and second round pick, that if it meant, not giving up Justin Jefferson, just because I like that we know what Justin Jefferson is, and draft picks are such a question mark?
Yeah, I'm with Adam on that one. And I especially think that, look, I'm a really big fan of TJ Hawkinson. I think if you list the 7 or 8 best tight ends in the NFL, Hawkinson is in that conversation. And Jefferson is probably one of the top, probably one of the top 2 or 3 best wide receivers in the NFL right now. So if there was ever a moment that you want to go balls in and draft a rookie quarterback, you're giving him 2 really solid, proven pass catchers. I like that phrase that he's got out there, and then you got just Jordan Addison as well, a young emerging rookie that we believe can do a lot of really good. You got to hammer out the ground game a little bit, but that's a really good system to put a rookie quarterback in. Part of the failure of Christian Ponder, I believe, is that there was Adrian Peterson and nothing else. Kyle Rudolph as well.
Yeah, I was
too.
going to
You
say
had Percy
Minnesota made a
Harvin.
point to go get Kyle Rudolph for Christian Ponder.
You had
Right,
Percy Harvin, but yeah, I see your point. Like, it was so heavy on the run.
Percy Harvin was also 10 years too early for the NFL. Like, he was, if he was in the NFL right now, Percy Harvin would be even more of a nightmare than what he was, because offenses have caught up to his skill set. The Vikings didn't fully utilize Harvin, and then there was the migraines and whatever else that was going on with him. But my point is that Ponder didn't have the greatest situation with weapons out there, and I think that now you have to prioritize Jefferson with a rookie quarterback, because that really helps them succeed. Just get the ball in the general area with him and Hawkinson, and they'll make a play for you, and that's easy.
I agree with both of you, Adam especially. I prefer that route. Here, my dream scenario, my dad, God bless my dad, he just called to say what's up, and he's like, yo, it's keeping Cousins or what? And I was like, here's my dream scenario. Kirk takes a slightly discounted deal, because – and it's trending, guys. If you haven't read up on the little tea leaves and read between the lines, the Vikings are slowly exiting out of the Kirk situation. They are leaving plenty of room, and plenty of the door is still open for him to return. But they've said, hey, we don't want to do a fully guaranteed deal. And
yeah, I also don't know how much of that you believe, because this is the time of year when, like, Kirk's people are going to put out information to sway the public, and the Vikings are going to put out information to sway the public, and it's that Game of Thrones. I'm a big fan of that.
Yeah, it's exactly that time of year, like heading into the combine here, where the same Minnesota's going to meet with Kirk at the combine, and oh, guess what just popped up on Kirk's social media? It's videos of him working out and looking good.
Yeah,
right.
He was on a tennis court with tennis shoes, doing the backward step, the drop back, and he looks great. Doesn't look like it's affecting ball. He'll be ready to go in the summer.
It's fun to speculate, and I like this time of year because you can speculate about whatever. It don't matter how wrong you are, because it's the off season. I just don't think you should weigh anything we're hearing all that much right now.
It's so weird though, because even like draft rumors are flying around like wild. Like right now, apparently what I'm hearing is that Drake May is sinking to almost like number 4 or 5 in the draft at this point, and Jaden Daniels is rising.
That would be wild.
It's crazy.
That would be great. I'll tell you two things. I was going to say this, but you guys got in with such good points. Like, I love this episode so far. This is one of my favorite ones we've done in a while. Here's my dream scenario. The Vikings can find a way to keep Kirk Cousins on a 2-year deal, voidable after this one, right? Or get out of it pretty easily next year if they need. I think it's the best situation for Kirk. I think it's a good redemption tour. I think it's a good time for a rookie named Drake May that we are going to go up and get in the draft, damn it. Go get him. Justin Jefferson stays.
What did John Gruden say? Knock on wood.
Yeah. There we go. I don't know about Danielle Hunter, if he could stay or not. I think he should chase the bag. I don't know if Minnesota.
Oh, yeah, I see him chasing the money. I don't see him coming back.
But that would be the ideal situation, is you give Kirk one last hurrah to see whatever. And let's say they end up going to like the NFC Championship game. And you're like, fuck it, let's bring Kirk back. He looked great. Great. Let the kid sit. I hate using this analogy because I think it's a little overhyped, but I watched
Favre to Rodgers.
Rodgers to Love. They let Love sit for 3 years, and he looked damn good last year. And I hate that for us, but he had very good moments where I watched him shifting and the way he's throwing. He looks like Aaron Rodgers. And I'm not saying whoever we get would
wasn't
look like
Mahomes sitting behind Alex Smith for a little bit too, or was
he sat for that first year?
Yeah.
Why not? There's no I despise rushing a rookie quarterback in. Don't do it.
What do you think Jordan Love would have looked like week 1, year 1, if you would have put him on the field? Probably overwhelmed and like shit, and he probably would have shot his confidence. And there is something to be said for certain players need to sit. Now, that doesn't mean every now and then you draft a Russell Wilson and it's apparent that, he's ready to go right away.
CJ Stroud comes in and just starts lighting everything up,
Yeah.
That's a good point too. And I said that on a space recently with my friend Mike. There's a guy that's a Jets or a Giants fan in there, and it's like, "Oh, you think a rookie's going to come there and light it up?" I was like, "Dude, it just happened this year. What do you mean?" And you can't tell me that people saw it coming and they're like, "Man, the Texans are just the 49ers of the AFC. They're a quarterback away." No, they weren't. They were dog shit for 3 years.
Yeah, they were
And
bad.
then you get 2 game changers, one on offense, one on defense, and then some pieces. I'm not going to say Tank Dell is the next freaking Jordy Nelson or whomever. He's a good piece. And you get a good coach in there, and you can have a great season. Of course, some things have to fall in place. But my point being, that would be ideal. I don't want to rush a guy because I look at like Bryce Young. Do I think he could be a great NFL quarterback? Yeah, he was great at Alabama. But I see the dumpster fire that he went to. And I'm not saying Minnesota's anywhere near that personnel-wise. But if there's not a need to rush a quarterback in, the longer they can absorb information and get reps, the better. Remember they always say in every interview you ever read where everybody's not giving you a robot answer. It's the reps. I need more reps. I need more reps. Well,
right.
Who gets better reps than a backup in practice all the time for a whole year? That would be my ideal thing.
It's really funny how as fans we sit here and we're like, yeah, a rookie quarterback, they can sit for 2 or maybe 3 years, get them ready. And then in the next segment, we'll be like, fucking Lewis Cine, what a bust. He hasn't gone on the field. What's the
difference there is that's a safety. I mean, when you got a newer GM and a newer head coach, and you have to get success, because this is both of their first times in those positions.
Right.
I mean, they have to find success, otherwise their jobs are on the line. I see a lot of impatient fans talking about Kwesi and how, he's already messing everything up so bad he's got to get out of there. It's like he hasn't even had time to implement what he wants to do with this team.
Adam, what the worst part about it is? Kwesi is right in the middle. It's not we've nailed like the Seattle Seahawks the year before last year. They get 2 tackles that are amazing. And then Geno Smith has that resurgence year. I guess it was the year before last now.
Yeah.
And then they just nail the draft. They have starting corners. You nail like 4 draft picks. That never happens. So he's not like knocking it out of the park, but it's also not like Cleveland drafting Johnny Manziel in the first round. You know what I mean? Like we're not like that. It's right.
It always goes back to seeing when the people are talking about it, and it's like last year Kwesi had a solid draft.
And right, and I don't know if I'm making an excuse because I want to see him succeed, but I still look at it and go, okay, his first draft, they came in, you come in super late, super close to the draft. You're flying by the seat of your pants, do the best you can to figure it out. Last year is kind of like, okay, you've had some time to ease into it, but it's your first draft. Maybe you're a little nervous because it's your first time, right? You got to figure it out. Okay, so this year they should be all established and comfortable with scouts and all on the same page, and we're not the new guys on the block anymore. So we're really going to find out what their philosophies are for drafting and what kind of players they're going to be able to bring in this year.
Well, that's your point, Kyle. You're giving, and that sentence you just made, the statement you made, you're giving Kwesi time and you're giving him an opportunity to prove himself. We don't give the players the same thing, and it's bullshit. I'm guilty of it myself. But you count Lewis Cine's first year as an injury scratch. So technically last year was his first year he didn't get on the field. You know why he didn't get on the field? Because the Vikings general manager did his fucking job. We kept a good safety, and we had 2 other safeties who were really good. God forbid we have depth there. That's the other side of the argument. The one side is he's a bust, blah, blah. And it's like, or I can look at Josh Metellus being a diamond in the rough, and Cam Bynum is doing well. I didn't think he was going to be that good.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I want to talk about the Vikings draft. I do want to talk about the news that Minnesota does get to keep their 7th round pick that was going to be going to Arizona in that trade for Josh Dobbs. Dobbs did not play enough snaps, so they get to keep the 7th rounder.
So that in total, you're right, Adam. That's
you
9
think that's
picks
part of the reason?
Year.
Is that part of the reason why they benched him? Do you think?
I think it's got something to do with it.
I didn't know that. I bet you that has a lot to do with it.
Drama.
Where's he going to sign?
I hope he gets a shot, man.
He'll be a high-end backup somewhere.
Yeah. I like him a lot.
He's a good kid, and it's a good story, and I was really rooting for him, and I wish it would have worked out a little different in Minnesota. I still don't quite get why he started. Man, he came on strong and then just fell off that bandwagon
I've
quick.
seen memes like once he learned the playbook, it was over.
I mean,
Well,
it's not a
and
meme.
if
It's
you
not a meme when
trade,
it's the truth.
it's true. Well, if you trade for a guy in the middle of the season, I just assume he's just going to start. And that kind of, if I was Nick Mullins, I'd be like, "Fuck, man, I've been here 2 years. What do you mean? Are you trading for this dude?" I would have rolled with him the whole time and be like, "Fuck it, we're dying by the sword." But
Well, at the time, Mullins, he had like a back injury, right?
right,
Yes, I think.
maybe they were his go-to. Maybe he was the go-to, and they just had to make that move. I don't know. If you trade for somebody that kind of clearly says we want you to go, but that is a good wrinkle to it. I want to answer Mike's questions though, talking about quarterbacks and stuff. I personally believe it's going to take 3 firsts, including this year, and then 2 futures, and then probably another mid-round pick somewhere in there or a player. I would not do more than 3 because the standard is set from San Francisco with Trey Lance. And then also, I think the Rams
Now, Lance
kind of
moved. They moved up to 2 for Lance, right? Where were they at?
I don't remember. I can find out.
Because it all depends on how far you have to move in the draft. I mean, like if Minnesota want to move up to 1, they're going to give up the house.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Because we're at 11 right now.
Yeah.
See, I have a hard time believing that the Vikings would jump from like 11 to 3. But like you said, that's a hell of a lot of capital to be giving up to do that. And I don't think that they're going to hinge the future that much.
And we got to ask which quarterbacks are worth jumping up there for. Because at this point, you've got May, you've got, the number 1 overall guy that everyone's been talking about. And, you've got Jaden Daniels. So, I mean, is it just those 3 that you want to move up for? Or does that include guys like J.J. McCarthy and Michael Penix Jr. and Bo Nix and whoever?
I've laid out the situation. It's maybe not the most popular scenario, but like you could stay put at 11, take a defensive tackle, and if someone like Michael Penix is sitting at the tail end of round 1, it would be a lot cheaper to trade back into the tail end of round 1 than what it would be to jump from like 11 to 3 to grab.
I don't know if you guys read my mock draft over on the Vikings, but that's essentially what I had Minnesota doing is in the first round, I didn't like the value at quarterback of 11 when Minnesota's pick rolled around. So I had them taking an edge rusher there, and then they grabbed Bo Nix later, and I think people are kind of sleeping on Bo Nix a little bit.
And to me, Adam, we're on the same page. It's funny how you and I end up on the same page a lot without even like discussing it. We always think alike on stuff like that. But it's like you have to address the pass rush situation for the Vikings because you're probably not bringing back Danielle Hunter. You're not bringing back Marcus Davenport. I really don't know who's rushing the quarterback, and that's kind of
DJ Wanham was here for another year because I'd like to see what he can do as a starter.
Right.
I got your answer, guys, by the way. And you're going to like this.
Okay.
The Vikings are at 11 this year. The 2021 NFL draft, the Dallas Cowboys went from 3 to 12. And then, obviously, San Francisco swapped. So, Philadelphia, Miami, Philadelphia. So, the Dallas Cowboys, trying to make sure they didn't have multiple picks. That was the year we picked Christian Darrisaw, by the way. It was a good draft. Yeah, San Francisco went up. San Francisco went up to number 3 and from Houston via Miami. I'm trying to see.
Which there already is rumors that Minnesota has been kind of like greasing the wheels there for a trade with New England. I've heard those rumors pretty strong.
That's what sucks for me. I'm not in on Jaden Daniels. I like him more than I like a Bo Nix or Michael Penix, but I'm not completely sold, but apparently has a lot of upside. But that's about where we'll be. What I'm curious to see what happens, because I think Chicago can't fumble the bag. They were going to miss out on C.J. Stroud and Bryce Young last year. They kind of know, like, Caleb Williams is the dude, and they cleared their whole offensive staff. Of course, they probably are going to go get him. But
if they draft Caleb and they go and get Danielle Hunter in free agency, they could be making
not even that. I didn't even think about that, Adam. Think about this. Think about that. What you just said happened. They draft Caleb Williams 1 overall. They get Danielle Hunter in free agency because they have a ton of money. And what if they get Rome Odunze or Malik Neighbors, I think his name is, from whatever at number 9? Dude, they're going to be if that kid's worth what he is, and hits off right away, we're going to be the bottom feeders of this division.
They're going to have some
It's gonna be
talent.
bad. It's going to be.
They really do.
Yeah, Jonathan, you missed it. We talked about this to start the show. The Vikings salary cap, as it sits right now, they have $35.8 million. So I was saying to start the show, Justin Jefferson probably is the thing that we should do first. But they could. There's a very good possibility they could keep Kirk and JJ with this money and still have, some cap wizardry to push some stuff forward, do some signing bonuses, blah, blah, blah. But
At the moment, I believe Vegas is the favorite to land Kirk Cousins in free agency, so that'll be interesting to watch. It seems like a good fit, and they do have some salary cap to spend, so, I mean, who knows?
But, yes, that's true. What I was saying was, if Chicago goes up and gets Caleb Williams number one, it's all about Washington. Washington hired Cliff Kingsbury. He was in the NFL, went to, I think, USC maybe. Now he's coming back. He's going to be under Dan Quinn. They have a lot of cap space. They have a decent defense. I don't see why they wouldn't take Drake May unless he just has a stock that falls and they want to take a chance. The thing that, now that I'm talking myself into it, is the kid from LSU, he is a Heisman Trophy winner. He's pretty good. So the big question mark is at 3. I think the Patriots are at 3.
Yeah.
Do they want to trade for Justin Fields and do like a third for him? And then you get arguably the best wide receiver you've seen in any draft the last 2 or 3 years. Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to be a problem. I didn't know this today, but listening to that Joel Klatt video I told you guys earlier, this dude is 6'4" and like 215 pounds.
Oh, yeah.
He is going to body these tiny receivers.
He's a matchup nightmare.
It's going to be bad. So if I'm New England, I have to highly consider drafting him and saying, dude, they could do the same thing we want to do. It's like, fuck it, I like J.J. McCarthy. I'll just come get him in the second round.
I mean, these rumors about Drake May tumbling are all because of a Senior Bowl that just didn't showcase his abilities to the best of what they could be. And now we're going to see a similar thing coming up with the scouting combine. People are going to be jumping all over the place on big boards. It's going to be wild.
I predicted way earlier that this would be the time of year that Penix, despite the injury history and how he played in the big game on national television, didn't look so hot. He is going to light it up at the combine and his pro day, because that kid can stand there and he throws the most beautiful deep pass you've ever seen, and he'll put it wherever you ask him on the field. He's gonna shoot up some boards. I really think so.
This right here is the time of year when Jamarcus Russell throws for 70 yards on his knees and shoots up draft boards like what?
Yeah.
I'm just taking a look right now. Oh, they switched. I was incorrect. I guess wherever I listened to today was incorrect. So salary cap.
Who's the quarterback from the Jets? The rookie that they drafted, the young kid?
Zach Wilson?
Yeah, Zach Wilson. There's another example of a player that had a really good pro day and got overdrafted because of it.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
Isn't that how it usually goes? Outside of the Mariota Winston year, there's usually one that does okay and one that doesn't, and they're right back to back. So I said this too. Yeah. This is my out on this. If we were to somehow get Drake May and he sucks, the math told you that one of these quarterbacks is going to be really good, and the rest of them might not be. But you don't know unless you try. I'd rather see, as the old expression goes, I'd rather you stand at the plate and swing to strike out than to watch the strike go by and not even take the swing.
So here's the question for you guys. Do you chase green flags or do you avoid red flags?
I think you chase green flags. The more green flags I see, the more moldable they've been. Obviously, there's deal breakers with, if you have like sexual assault or you've got
like Penix's injury history is a red flag for a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
But how red is it?
I'm out on that completely. That's the whole reason. I'm not saying like, oh, I don't like him. No, I'm out completely. I don't want the Vikings to draft him at any point. He's had 2 ACLs and I think 2 shoulder surgeries, and he hasn't played in the NFL yet.
Yeah.
Are you shitting me? No. He's going to get murdered.
Smith, have you seen one of those charts where it's got like all the different like joints in your body and you can click on it and it's like scale of 1 to 10, tell me how much does it hurt? Why do I picture Penix's chart is like every joint is like an 8. It's just like in the red, that poor kid.
And to defend him, even though I'm over here saying I don't want him to defend him, medicine has advanced even from the year that Adrian Peterson tore his ACL and came back in 8 months. people can recoup and come back, and he made it to a national championship. I'm not denying his ability.
And Michael
but
is right.
that's
He is a
scary.
lefty, which is weird. I
Yes,
still
that's a
think
good
it's so
point.
weird watching a left-handed quarterback.
I forgot about that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I'm out completely on that because I'm sorry, this is not meant to be like in a picking on him way, but it's just like you're drafting Tua as he is now. He's a concussion and an ACL away from selling.
I like so many things I watch with Penix when he's on the field. But, I mean, it's so hard to call his name on draft day just because of what that injury history is.
Now, I'll tell you what, Adam,
he's Sam Bradford with those Sam Bradford knees coming out of college. It's like, man, some team is gonna get him, and you're gonna go, holy shit! For 8 weeks, he looked really good, and then he got hurt, and then next year it's gonna be, oh man, for 8 or 9 weeks he looked really good, and then he got hurt.
You know what's sad? Have you guys heard? Julian Edelman has a new podcast. I forget what it's called, but it's he and Sam Morril, the comedian, and they're trying to find the best game ever. And I actually sent them a voicemail because they said, "Hey, call in and tell us." And I said, "You guys need to watch the last Sam Bradford game as a Viking, Week 1, 2017 season, the Minneapolis Miracle year. Watch this dude absolutely carve up the New Orleans Saints. It's unreal." I was like, I don't think I've ever seen somebody throw a football that good.
Yeah,
I don't know. I highly doubt they'll do that because it's not interesting for the rest of the world. But to your guys' point, now, Adam, here's where I counter myself and be a total hypocrite. If this dude starts falling to like the end of the second, would I be mad if the Vikings go get him? I'd be a whole lot less mad. It's the same thing, the same concept, but not the same reasoning for J.J. McCarthy. At 11, absolutely the fuck not. No. But pick 46, pick 50, shit. I mean, it's
Penix at 11. No, Penix at the tail end of round 1. Potentially, potentially you could swing that, and if he's there on day 2, especially, yeah, you can make a case for that as well.
Yeah, Brian O'Neill at tackle, Michael, and then the guard was what's his name?
Really quick.
What's the other guy?
I would rather take a flyer on someone who's got a red flag that's an injury history than a red flag.
You think the Vikings are going to resign Reisner?
I hope so. You got money now.
Yeah.
Apparently, Reisner's going to be able to make a lot of money in free agency. I don't know what they're going to pay him, but it's going to be a lot of money.
He played well. He definitely played well.
I don't think he allowed a sack last year, did he? Wasn't that a stat for a long time, if not the whole time he was starting?
I'm not sure if it went the whole season, but yeah, that was a stat for a long time.
It's tough. Letting you guys know, base salary cap $255,400,000. This is as of today. I'll just run through it until we get to the Vikings because they're not quite halfway, but the math tells me they're probably 12 or 13 here. Commanders, Titans, Bears, Patriots, Colts, Texans, Lions, Cardinals, Bengals, Bucks, Raiders, Rams, and Vikings. So they're sitting at like 13 or something like that, or like 14. Pretty good. They're definitely in the top half of the league. The Packers are way at the bottom, which is hilarious. Of positive, they have $2 million, and then it starts going bad. This is crazy to me.
Where's New Orleans?
New Orleans is next to last. Dude, the Bills. Bills. Holy shit. The Bills are negative $43 million in the hole. Holy fucking shit.
You know how you talk.
Go ahead.
You know how you talk about like, oh, the window's closing or closed for this franchise to win with, dude. When your salary cap is that bad, if you're the Bills, you almost gotta start from scratch.
I feel bad for Josh Allen. He does everything he's supposed to do. I don't give a shit about the interceptions. That's fine. He's a leader. He's not a shithead off the field. He's got an arm for days. And they just can't. Like, Patrick Mahomes exists, and he's just going to be a nightmare until he's not there. It's so sad. Dude.
Same with Joe Burrow. Like,
yeah,
you're really good, but you're playing at the same time as Patrick Mahomes.
Speaking of Joe Burrow, this is a great segue to this comment. Jonathan is one of our regular listeners. Shout out to you in Charlotte. Not sure if you guys mentioned McCarthy from Michigan, I think. What are your thoughts at 11? No, absolutely not. Me personally, And he had a great – I'm glad he's a national champion. Jim Harbaugh will tell you he's the best player in the draft. Of course he will. It's his quarterback.
He has to.
But that team was built with refrigerators on both lines. He didn't have to do anything. And the problem that concerns me there is I don't see a lot of, like, crazy aerial attack, but that's not the way that team is built. So I don't know. I have seen 2 or 3 analysts compare him to body type and the way he plays to Joe Burrow. But at 11 – I don't know. I hope not.
I would be interested to see McCarthy on a team that had a really strong offensive line and a strong run game, but right now I just don't think Minnesota's a good fit for him.
I don't either, even with the great receivers that we have. And the line was very good last year statistically, but not at 11. If the Vikings come back at 30 and jump in and got him there, I wouldn't hate it. But I think – what you got to think of, Jonathan, and I do this for myself too because I have to army everything down just like you probably still do. I have to make it simple for me, right? You got to look at need versus overall rating and see where they fall. Because if they mirror each other, that's great, but they never do. I think there are edge rushers, defensive tackles, and even corners I would gladly take over J.J. McCarthy. And I'm telling you now, if Rome Odunze or Malik Neighbors is at 11, I'm highly considering taking another wide receiver too because they're game changers. They're huge. And we don't need that. That's, like I said earlier, that's a luxury position. But I don't see McCarthy being the 11th best player in the draft, much less he's like the 4th or 5th best quarterback. You can get him later and go get a game-changing defensive end or – I think that's what the Vikings are going to do if they stay put. Probably take a defensive end or defensive tackle.
Let's take a look at this roster right now and say, like, okay, on offense, Minnesota needs a quarterback. They need to find a left guard. They need to replace a wide receiver, / special teams guy, since both their number 3s are going. On defense, you got your top 3 edge rushers are leaving. You've got spots in the trenches there where you need to upgrade because Dean Lowry is just bad.
That's 2.
You got a starting linebacker job that's going to be wide open. The secondary looks like it's going to be similar unless they end up parting ways with Harrison Smith, which I think is going to have to happen.
That's a possibility. You can't keep asking him to take pay cuts.
What's he do, $22 million this year or something like that?
Let's see. Let's type in a player. And
it's a lot of millions.
It sure is.
They've also got to figure something out at the running back position. And if you're talking, potential, what are you giving up to trade to move up to draft a quarterback? Maybe you're tossing in a 2nd or a 3rd round pick to, to help sweeten the deal to move up to get a quarterback. That's potentially your starting running back that you're giving up in a trade like that as well, too. It's, something to consider.
It looks like the Vikings might save before the June 1st cut, but Harrison Smith does not have a guaranteed salary this year. But if he does stay on the team as it is right now, which they would definitely restructure, he's due $19.2 million. 2025, he'd be due $22 million. Now, both of these are voided years, which is smart. But, yeah, they would have to transfer some of this money, I would guess, to the future or into bonuses somehow. That's too much. And I love the guy, but he's 35.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I know people are talking about how safety or corner are a big need for Minnesota. And you know what? They're really not. I mean, Minnesota has a veteran corner to start and a bunch of young guys under him that have shown a little bit of potential. But the thing about, defensive backs is you've got to keep replenishing that pool of defensive backs constantly, whether it's getting more rookies or just adding talent, because you never know when you're going to need corners or safeties.
Here's a great question here, Michael. You've been asking great questions today. Keep it up. Free agent running backs. Number 1, Derrick Henry. 2023 AAV. $12.5 million. No, thank you. Josh Jacobs, I would shell out a lot of money for. He is good. Saquon Barkley, injuries, don't like it. I think the Giants are going to find a way.
Yeah, I don't think he's leaving. He's not leaving the Giants.
Tony Pollard did not look good as a 1 last year. Here's somebody I like, and I like this price tag a lot because he does a shit ton everywhere. Austin Eckler is probably going to be looking for a job. So if you were going to go get a free agent running back, it says 6.125.
Chargers are a dumpster fire.
And they're in the negatives as far as the cap, to like $25 million below the cap. So he will probably be a cap casualty. And look who's right underneath him. Cordarrelle mother effing Patterson. Bring him back to Minnesota, dude. It gets kind of sticky later. We got Gus Edwards, Ezekiel Elliott, Devin Singletary.
There's not a lot that really excites me in that free agent group.
No.
And I'm not too keen really on paying any of them. I'm just not.
No, I wouldn't want to pay like Pollard to come in. No, thank you.
No. And that's where it stops, guys. So you have Derrick Henry, Jacobs, Barkley, and Tony Pollard. They're all $10 million plus. But when you get to Eckler, Patterson, Edwards, and those guys, you're looking at $6.54 million. Now that I can stomach.
Find a guy in the 3rd or 4th round that you like and draft him. And hey, there you go. Competition.
I'll be honest, I haven't really looked at a whole lot of interior offensive linemen this draft. Since Minnesota doesn't essentially need a starting offensive tackle, guys like Joe Alt aren't ones that you're going to look into too much because they aren't coming to Minnesota.
I'm looking to see where these people played at, but it's very hard because everything is the same background. But yes, Joe Alt, Olumua Fashanu. Oh, he's at Penn State. Talisa Fuagua, J.C. Latham at Alabama, Amarius Mims. I remember seeing him from Georgia. They don't need tackles, I would say. So we're pretty set there.
Need a swing backup rotational, but you don't take one in the 1st round.
No, the highest ranked center is at 11 from Oregon. Jackson Powers Jones, that's a big boy. 334, 6'3". That's a big ass center right there. Overall rating is 86.1. I don't mind that at all. There's only 0.3 points difference between he and the 8th ranked guy. So I like this a lot, but I'm trying to see. You guys go ahead. I'm just looking around.
I'm trying to stop my cat from headbutting my microphone. That's what I'm doing.
I do feel like the Vikings are going to upgrade at center, but not this year. And I feel like that's a statement we've made for the past 3 years now. But it's like the time is coming soon to upgrade.
Well, they got Bradbury on a pretty good deal, so I don't see them making too many changes there immediately right now.
And let's be real, guys. He played all right last year.
Yeah, he was all right.
He did. You can run it back with him one more year. I just don't. I don't think the tread on those tires are going to last a hell of a lot more longer. But we can push through another winter with it.
And nobody wants to admit it, but you know what? Ed Ingram played pretty well last year.
It's true.
He improved. There got to a point in this podcast where we kind of stopped talking about Ed Ingram because he was playing well, and that's basically what you want from an offensive lineman. We don't have to discuss you because you're doing your job.
Right.
There's I'm on the NFL draft board, the big draft board, just for centers. They have him as the 17th ranked. Is that the overall? PFF ranked. It has to be overall. Center from Oregon. The next closest is 34, West Virginia center Zach Frazier, and then all the way down to 82. The 3rd ranked is 87th ranked Cedric Van Pran from Georgia. Those are centers. I can look at guards really fast. That's hilarious. What position would you like to look at? And then it says, how would you like the text? And it says thick with 2 C's.
I agree with Adam. There are certain positions that you can always draft as a team if the player on your board has a value that's a lot higher than the ones around him. And those are wide receiver and corner. You can never have enough corners, and you can never have enough wide receivers.
See, I wasn't going to go wide receiver. I was going to go corner. I was going to say edge rusher and offensive lineman. You can stack up on those all you want. Guess what? Throughout the season, those positions are probably going to go down.
Yeah.
That's a good point. I don't think either one of you are wrong. I think it's just whatever your favorite flavor is. The highest rated guard in the draft is at like 64, so you're not going to find any of those in the first round, maybe not
Right.
even in the second. But yeah, I think this will be something that won't be a sexy pick. Picking an offensive lineman is never sexy anyways. Nobody, unless you get one of the outstanding ones, like, hey, our quarterback was getting his ass beat all last year, like a Daniel Jones type, and then you have to take one at like 7.
Like a Laramie
Cool.
Tunsil.
Good reference. Now draft trades get a couple good ones at the key positions. Yeah, I don't know what we're gonna do. I don't know what all assets the Vikings have to trade and what they are willing to trade. But
well, we have seen Queasy is willing to trade if he sees the value is right. He doesn't care who he's got traders to get his value. So I mean, this draft is going to be really interesting to watch because I honestly don't know what their big board looks like, what their major positions and needs look like, what their offseason plan is for who they're going to re-sign or want to re-sign. Because, as we were going through that list of positions the Vikings need, I mean, they need so many spots. They don't even have a kicker right now.
Yeah.
Oh, this team. Oof. On the track record, we're supposed to go back to the playoffs this year because that's just how it works. But this might be another one of those seasons. If they don't get a lot of this shit corrected, it could be a rough year. I think they will figure it out eventually. I just don't think, it's kind of like everything. I mean, the way my brain processes it and, tries to make an analogy really fast on the spot here is just having a budget like you are when you're a kid and you try to, you want to buy certain things. Maybe you're looking to, like I used to skateboard. Well, I wanted to buy these wheels. I wanted to buy this board, but I only have X amount of money. So what I want to prioritize with, I want to know what the Vikings' priorities are. We'll never know because we're not in the building, but
right.
They just have to make a priority, and you have to live with, okay, we're going to have a weakness and a vulnerability. What are we okay with that being? And even at the kicker position, that's not good. You need a good kicker. Like, the more and more we talk about this team, the more I'm starting to sweat because I'm like, shit, what are they going to do? But the good thing, the fun thing, I don't say the good thing. The fun thing is about this team is there will be changes this year. And I'm not sure what they will be yet, but there will be some exciting, eye-catching things. And if I had my gut opinion and guesstimation, they looked at Fields. They definitely were interested in Anthony Richardson last year. They're going to get a quarterback in this draft. Where they're going to get one and how they're going to get there, I don't know. But I don't know. We're only 2 months away from the draft. It's coming soon.
Yeah, we're going to have a lot of talk coming in, now and for several weeks now leading up to the NFL draft. And all that conversation about the Minnesota Vikings is going to be around the quarterback position, which is weird because, this team has so many spots on the roster as a whole that need attention. But the media, of course, and as I talked about this with Mr. Smith, quarterbacks sell, man. That's where the money is. That's where the clicks are. You got to talk about quarterbacks.
I don't mind talking about quarterbacks when we are doing draft comparisons. Like I said earlier, Drake May, someone comped him to Justin Herbert, and I enjoyed that because first thing I look for a quarterback is
you
size.
Like quarterbacks that don't win playoff games.
I knew it was coming. I almost set you up for that.
Well, we're used to that in Minnesota, so we'll fit right in.
I'm sorry. I should model. You're right, Adam. I should model it after Daniel Jones because he wins playoff games.
He does.
No, don't. We could trade for Daniel Jones.
God, I would.
He's not just in dimes, is he?
No. That sucks so much. I've seen the comp. I don't mind that comparison. I know what you were alluding to with our conversation. I don't mind. Hey, this guy moves and looks like on film Patrick Mahomes, Justin Herbert, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, blah, blah, blah. I will pound the table every week, and it'll never stop. And I told Kyle I'm going to make a shirt on his website that says this. Stop comparing quarterbacks playing each other. They don't fucking play each other. They don't play defense. Stop saying Tom Brady beat Patrick Mahomes. Tom Brady beat the defensive coordinator and the Kansas City defense.
That's
fucking walnuts.
That's a lot of
It's a lot of words.
Walnuts.
That's a lot of words for the front of a shirt. What size font are we going? Because it's gonna
I'll
have to.
I'll have to show you the one that I just got as a gift. It was hilarious.
I've
Somebody
asked you guys
did
this
the-
before, but I gotta ask again because I don't remember what you said. How much value do you put on the it factor, or whether a kid is a winner when you look at whether you want to bring them into Minnesota?
It's too vague. I don't know what it factor means.
You can't look at a player and be like, he's got it.
I think I could, but I think that might vary from what I think is it to you. Like I like a player the it factor for me is someone who, when a play breaks down and the pocket collapses, they can roll out to the right and make a play, or somebody who is like Matt Stafford that year at Detroit, where he got his fucking shoulder taken out of socket and he got up and he's like, "Fuck that! I'm gonna go throw a touchdown. Then I'll get my shit checked." I love that, but maybe the it factor is for you, Adam. Just using an example. You had that Peyton Manning thing where you're like, I know what's going to happen before the defense, before I take the snap, I'm going here. Maybe that's your it factor. I don't know.
I think it's highly overrated, and you were not drafting a player based on it factor. In my younger years, I would have said, "Oh, that's super important." And then I watched Johnny Manziel get drafted by the Cleveland Browns based purely on it factor.
Right.
And guess what?
I loved how every test they ran, they paid experts to come in, run tests, and be like, what quarterback should we take? And none of the tests said take Johnny Manziel, and they took Manziel anyway.
Yeah.
That's one of the smartest things. As much as we me personally like to rip on Jerry Jones
Now,
for all
look,
the dumb shit he does. That was a very smart move because I thought he was going to be a Cowboy.
I'm not saying occasionally that just it factor alone can't be fun. I mean, Tim Tebow, for better or worse, was fun.
Yeah.
That was a fun season. He was not good, but good Lord, was it entertaining to watch when he was out there.
He helped them win a playoff game, and he also beat the Vikings that year. I remember watching it, and I was pissed.
Right.
Like Broadway
like-
Joe Namath had the it factor, but let's be
Yeah.
honest, even though he's a Hall of Famer, he is not one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL of all time.
And
Right.
like you said, it depends on a player-by-player basis as well, too, because if you're drafting Andrew Luck, his it factor, you could say, was up here. It was his ability to dissect and learn offenses and read defenses and just know every single facet of it. So it is different, but by and large, no. Give me a player who is. I want him to be a bit of a proven winner in college, and I want him to have the right measurables. But most of all, I want to find a quarterback that fits the style of offense we are committed to run. I don't know, maybe they want a pocket passer. Maybe they want someone who can scramble. Whatever it is, be committed in drafting that guy and stick to it. And don't go, well, we kind of wanted a pocket passer, but one didn't fall to us, so now we're going to draft this guy who can scramble, but we're going to make him a pocket passer anyway. Don't do that.
Like Joe Webb in the playoff game.
Yeah, don't do that. Don't do that.
Another thing we kind of got to look at, though, is it feels like every draft, the top quarterback, the top prospect, always gets tabbed as a generational prospect. And by giving this generational prospect tag to players, you're making it meaningless.
That's a good
point. It's marketing. I mean, I hate to say that, but it's true. It's marketing.
Trevor Lawrence, yeah, he's real good, but was he a generational prospect?
So far, not.
Maybe.
Not yet.
Not
I mean,
yet.
I don't know. I'll let you know in a generation.
I also want to clarify something that you said because Kyle was talking, and I'm not saying this is, you were saying I thought of it this way or this is the setting, but also with that whole it factor thing, I'm not drafting a player solely on the it factor, and I'm not saying that's my priority. That may be the point on that 50-50 of do I want him if he has it or if he doesn't. Like a J.J. McCarthy, I don't see.
Yeah, he's a winner. He's got a track record of winning.
Yeah, he wins, right? And it looks like he can be coached very good, and he's team player, all that stuff. There's a quality there and a type of person you kind of see in your mind. Okay, you remind me of this player, blah blah blah. But I'm not personally going, man, I'm drafting this guy based on all potential. No, something's got to be there to be like, no. And this rolls into another point because this is happening, and it's going to keep happening in the future. As long as the tape tells me they can process the game and do whatever. Because you can't look at like Caleb Williams will go 1 overall, but he didn't win a national championship. Does that mean he's terrible? No, his team and his defense was god awful, right? So I look at that and I say, no, can he play the game? Can he make the decisions that a quarterback is supposed to make? Does he have great athletic ability? Is he smart? Blah, blah, blah. Does he have game-changing plays? Blah, blah, whatever your stuff is. But also, it's the film. He's not going to throw at the combine. I don't think what's the kid from LSU's name? Jaden Daniels. He's not going to.
Yeah.
We don't even know if Drake May's going to throw. This shit is going to start pushing the combine and the necessity of the combine down. And Rich Eisen was just talking about it today. Coaches aren't going to the NFL draft anymore or the combine anymore. They're not going because I have film and I can watch on TV everything he's doing. Why do I need to go in person to watch him throw a ball when I can study? You're 99.
Well, something that we've all talked about this scouting combine is that what they do on the field for those times isn't nearly as important as what happens in those meetings when the players meet with the coaches and the upper staff. That's what it's all about now.
I remember when the combine first came on TV was right around the time that we first started this podcast, believe it or not, Adam. And we were super into that. Like it was I
watched it all.
Every class. And you kind of over the years realize maybe it doesn't matter how many reps your starting quarterback can do on the bench press or the vertical or some of these other things. It's and you also know that players are training for these specific drills that they do. They should be able to perform well on them. I'm more concerned if you suck at them. Right?
Well, think about what you're saying too, Kyle. It was my point. I was trying to finish on is you got to think about 90. Of course, you're going to go watch a kid play in person because it's not only is it fun, but you can see them in a live game. But that's what you have different departments within the facility for. Scouts go places and watch in person, and they can tell you, what was going on. They can see subtle things you can't see from film. But 99% of the things that a GM, coach, and scouts look at is tape. There's tens of thousands of players in the country. You can't.
Or if you're the Raiders, it's 40 time.
Yeah, I was just gonna comment. How many times is the guy who run the fastest 40? John Ross a few years back? He might still have the fastest 40 of all time. Ends up being nothing really in the NFL.
But there are a few other things you kind of got to watch about the combine that are important, like the measurements. Because teams will sometimes not report a player's actual height or weight, or I know hand size isn't a tell-all be-all for quarterbacks, but it is one of those things you should kind of make note of.
Right. Sure. There was a knock on Dante Culpepper. He had smaller hands.
I could see that.
And that can lead to fumbling issues and things like that as well too. If you're not, you don't have a tight enough grip on the ball.
Speaking of measurables, how about the fucking idiots who thought they could fight Cam Newton this weekend? Did you guys see that?
I did.
I didn't click on it. I scrolled past it.
I didn't watch the whole thing, but somebody put a highlight up on Instagram or whatever, because the internet is super fast and undefeated. And it was like, imagine thinking you're going to do something to this guy. And it was that crazy run in Atlanta where he had 4 defenders on his back and he's still charging to try to get the first down. The dude is 6'5" and 230. What? I don't understand people. But to round out the point, most of the time these guys are watching film. If you can watch somebody play in a game, and I thought that was the craziest thing ever. Rich Eisen saying, he's like, there are some coaches not going to the combine because they can watch it at home. And they've said, now I don't know how true this is and what coach, but he says, I've had coaches tell me I can get a better angle, a different angle than if I'm there, watching you guys on whatever. And of course he's hyping himself up because he's involved with the draft. But I just thought that was interesting. I'm like,
so for a while too, the Vikings made it a point to draft high character players, to be in their locker room. And I don't know if that's still a priority of this team, but when you meet with these players at the combine, you got to know what kind of person you're bringing into your franchise.
I'm not bringing Deshaun Watson into the locker room. Like there is, I mean, there for me, there definitely is a line where you're like, no, this
Sure,
guy's a
yeah.
piece of shit. This guy's a piece of shit. I don't want him in the franchise. I don't want him in the building. Because I
No,
do,
you
I
should
do
pay
think
him the richest contract ever. That's what you should do.
no, you should not do that. Character does matter. I mean, guys, character does matter, and
Because you got players
that
that had
does
red flags, like when Ed Ingram came to the Vikings, he had red flags around him.
Yeah.
But from what I understand, his interviews with Minnesota put all those worries to rest, and they thought that he sounded like a really good kid, and that he could fit into the team well. So they drafted him where they did, and the Vikings at one point would back in the Zimmer days. I guess they had a locker room that was full of people that weren't taking the game as serious as they should, and it's nice to see Minnesota kind of made that change to putting an emphasis on the player and not always the plays.
right.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I said earlier, first thing I said was like sexual assault, DUI. They have some shadiness going on. Like, of course not. We can overlook that because you're right. To both of you guys' point, that will affect the locker room because imagine, there's 53 guys that make the roster. Imagine someone in there, let's say, just for the sake of conversation, like it's a Deshaun Watson case where there's sexual assault allegations. Well, imagine there's at least one or two players in there that have sexual assault that affected their lives. Maybe they weren't sexually assaulted. Maybe their mother or sister was. And now you got to play with a guy that's got 50 allegations. You're like, I don't fucking want to play with this dude. He's a piece of shit.
Well, do you see how
that could
the
affect
punt
everything.
god Matt Ariza, how he got kind of blackballed because of that situation?
Yeah.
And now he's cleared and he got signed by Kansas City. So
Of course.
he'll be their punter.
If you're cleared of that and everything is good, I can see why a team would take a swing. But I also see why most of the teams are like, I can't have you on the team with this going on. Like,
I hate to say it, but it also depends on the position. I mean, clearly you can see that. Well, we'll sweep the red flags under the table for a quarterback, but if you're a punter, like we're not even gonna. We don't care at all. Like, fuck you.
Right.
We're gonna find a replacement.
Yeah, I'm glad the Vikings. I hope they continue the trend of
now. Greg Joseph at kicker is an interesting situation for Minnesota because he did not miss from 40 yards or less this entire last season. He was automatic, but he had some pretty bad misses from past 40. So, do you gamble with that close consistency, or do you look for a kicker with a bigger leg that might not be as consistent close?
I'm going to say an unpopular opinion. Maybe it's not, but I feel like it would be received this way. I feel like with a kicker or punter, whatever, same thing as a quarterback in the second to third round every year. If you want to go get one every year, fucking go for it. Eventually, one will land and one will be amazing, and it's the punter and the kicker. Okay, if you lost it, all your losses came off of a missed field goal or extra point, obviously you fucked that up pretty bad as the coach and GM. But I don't think that's going to be the case. But you can go get one of these guys every single year because you can get them undrafted. You don't have to draft them. You can, but you don't have to.
You can, but you probably shouldn't.
You probably shouldn't, and there will be guys out there, and eventually you can find someone where you
I want to say
know.
there's 2, maybe 3 kickers coming out in this draft that are going to be, joining the NFL. I don't think it's as big of a grouping as the other positions in the NFL. So this year, if you want a kicker, I mean, maybe Minnesota should try to re-sign Greg Joseph and then maybe use a 6th or 7th round pick or even a priority undrafted free agent to bring in to compete because as much as I like the consistency that Greg Joseph offers within 40 yards, and that consistency is so nice, you need to be able to have someone that can kick a 54-yarder.
Yeah, I would say 50 would be my limit, and then do you change your whole game plan because your kicker is questionable? I wouldn't hate that, but you couldn't do it year in and year out. Let's say, all right, for this year, if it's past 50, you're not kicking shit because you haven't proven that you could do that. Hey, I don't care if it shoots your confidence. Guess what we're doing, boys? We're going for it. Let's go.
When did you start joining the Lions?
I know, right? Gotta love. We're gonna bite kneecaps in Minnesota now. Oh, that's a good one too. We can talk about it. It was in the group chat, and we can round out from there if we want. But I put this in the group chat earlier, I believe, or maybe I sent it to Kyle. They were talking about changing some of the rules.
Oh, the kickoff rule, right?
Yeah, like the XFL style stuff. I don't know where I sent that. I thought I sent it to one of them.
Yeah, I think it was in our group chat.
Yeah, it was in the group.
I know Pat McAfee has been really angry about these potential kickoff rules that they are talking about implementing. It's more of a practice style drill, I guess. He is not a big fan of it. Right now, the NFL has to figure something out because the majority of kicks are just going out of the back of the end zone. It's a dead play. So I know that they were trying to balance player safety versus having a meaningful play on the field. I don't know what the correct solution for that is, but I do think that something needs to be done with the kickoff or just eliminate it entirely.
I have it right here. Sorry. Competition committee discussed at length the NFL kickoff as a possibility as the XFL kickoff. A source says there could be a proposal for a March vote on a version of the XFL model. So that doesn't say fully. And then one of the replies says, hey, the XFL rule requires 10 players on each team to line up 5 yards apart, with only the kicker and the returner permitted to line up anywhere else. Because these players are so close together, they don't have time to get into a full sprint, and therefore there are fewer high-speed collisions. Here's my proposal with that. That sounds fine for player safety, but we've moved the kickoff so close it goes out of the end zone. Move it back 10 yards. You can get more exciting plays, still keep it, and you're still trying to do something.
But then you're running into that issue where you've still got players going full speed at one another. Yep, I don't know. I don't know.
Let's talk with the Vikings here for a second with this, because last year the Vikings kick returning was not great.
Yeah.
Kennedy, the season before, would he have 2 kick return touchdowns?
Yeah. Yep.
And then last year, nothing.
I'm not saving a roster spot for him.
No.
I'm really not. Either you can
at some
contribute.
point, kick returner isn't as big of a deal as you. All you need is a player that can haul it in or get out of the way.
Now, I will say for punt return, and just because I saw him make some clutch plays on third down, I want the punt returner Powell back. Absolutely, because he does.
Oh, you have to.
That.
Yeah, you have to. You have to have a punt returner. Kick returner, I would
actually be fine with Powell coming back as a wide receiver 3 punt returner.
Yes.
Yeah, he played well.
I think he will thrive as the wide receiver 4 if you replace Osborne should he leave. But you guys are right. The kick return, which is wild because I forget which account showed this, but if somebody made a compilation of all of the starters from their high school years, and it showed from the most to least, I think it was 21 players or something. Dude, Kene Nwangwu, his last year or whatever year was great. He had so many touchdowns. And Cam Akers, technically a Viking, his best year, I think in high school, whatever, it was 60-some touchdowns. Just how do you have that's their quarterback numbers. But just to the point I'm making there is to see the translation of he's buried on the depth chart, Kene, and yeah, like you said, Adam, it was not good last year. I can't help but think that the Vikings have a lot of needs, but talking about it out loud now, that running back room has to get an overhaul. I think they will probably spend a round 3 or round 4 pick on a running back this year too, and I don't think that's a bad idea.
I can see that, yeah.
They need it. They were terrible last year. And the only consistency they had tore their Achilles. I like Ty Chandler, but is he a running back number 1? No.
No. And he's really him and CJ Hammer, the only 2 I think that are going to be back this year.
It's the only ones I want back, but yeah. I don't run the team, so I don't know. I think they paid Alexander Madison, and he'll probably be back. But if they bring someone in to challenge, they absolutely should do that.
So
I don't see a running back worthy of a first-round pick, though.
Yeah, Alexander Madison going through that entire season without having a single rushing touchdown is just mind-blowing to me still.
He was hurt for a little bit of it, right?
Yeah, I think he did miss some time.
He missed some time, but yeah, it was a poor season. 700-some yards and no rushing touchdowns. I mean, If that was
we
any
do
other
have to take
team,
one moment to recognize now that 96 questions is no more. It is retired.
I'm okay with that.
I don't like it, but I understand why, because it was getting pretty dry and boring once he left the team and came back and tried to do a resurgence.
It's
kind of cool to see the sisters question coming back again for the third time.
I need good like spicy drama questions, and they just that I can tell from the Vikings HR and their media department. They're like, we're not doing that shit.
No,
It's not happening. So
I don't know if they're going to replace it with something over on the Vikings, social media network or what their plans are. But I guess Brian Robinson is done with it.
I don't think he did any returns. I'm not sure about that. I think he's primarily just the running back, and can kind of leave that to your slot receivers or your shifty running backs. Cam Akers, I don't think he was that. I don't want to say quick because running backs are all fast, but that's not his specialty. But I don't think so. But yeah, you're right, Adam. I like the back in the day because they had a good run on the prime Zimmer years with Robinson when he was on the team.
I used to look forward to those.
The chemistry was good too. I think that's why we look forward to it. Is he was on the team and his teammates know him. Like these are all outside of Harrison Smith. Nobody knows who the fuck this guy is.
Yeah.
Like, you used to play with the team? Cool. Like
you had Daniel Hunter and Harrison Smith, and that's pretty well it.
Yeah, that's just about it. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what they would replace it with. I know they're doing the Voyage, which is fun, but when you don't win a lot of games, I don't want to relive the season, so I haven't watched that shit. And the one that they just came out with this past Sunday was the Green Bay game where Kirk tore his Achilles, and I'm like, that was depressing as shit. I don't want to watch that.
Yeah, I'll skip that.
Yeah, no thanks. Maybe the next one they'll show, the Pastronaut Mania, and I'll get excited again for a couple of games they cover.
And maybe they'll show Kirk Cousins' Tostinos ad.
That's hilarious. He's such a cornball. I love it. I love that he leans into it.
It's his brand.
Also,
he knows it.
Absolutely. I also I have a little bit of fun stuff, NFL news, because I looked this up the other day. If you guys liked quarterback last season with Mahomes, Cousins, and Mariota, they haven't released whoever it was yet. And I know a lot of guys turned it down because they were like, I do not want you following me around for the whole season. But Matt Stafford is definitely one of the quarterbacks that's going to be on there. I think it's a solid choice. He this season would probably represent that mid-tier, like Kirk Cousins kind of thing. Because they were doing well, and I know he kind of revived his career there. But, yeah, Matt Stafford will be on quarterback. I think if they do the timeline the same as they did last year, it'll be out in the summertime. But that has been confirmed on there. It's hilarious. Peyton Manning is running it, so that it's going to be good. It was great last year. But I saw the list of names, and they asked, like, C.J. Stroud and Joe Burrow and all guys like that, and they're like, no, you can't follow me around. I'm not doing that shit. I can see why they'd be hesitant.
So are either of you guys American Idol fans?
Nope.
I'm not, but I know where you're going, and this is kind of cool.
Yeah,
Pretty
Blake
sweet.
Pearl, former Vikings wide receiver, was on American Idol with his grandma.
I saw
And apparently he is going to Hollywood.
Yeah, I can tell you, being a singer, listening to the guy, he is talented as shit, and he spent some time. I don't think he's in the NFL anymore, obviously, but
no, he actually doesn't even know if he can run properly anymore with his injuries.
That sucks. Yeah, he was always a fringe roster guy, practice squad tier player, but he's very good friends with Adam Thielen, and now that they're in Charlotte, my hometown, you could see like the spots they were at around. Oh, I know that place. But he was staying with Adam Thielen a lot because I see it a lot on their social media stories. And they were hyping him up. They're still obviously good friends. They were in the same position group. That's really cool, man. I personally am not into the super poppy stuff, but just listening to a couple of covers he's done on Instagram, that dude can sing his ass off. So with his story combined with his talent of singing, he's got a chance to go far with this. I'm excited for him.
And we got some other cool former Vikings news with Amir Abdullah being cast in a movie with Cuba Gooding Jr. and Vivica A. Fox called Breaks the Cycle that's coming out.
That's dope.
Probably sometime this year.
Wow. Two staples of my childhood there. That's awesome.
Yeah, a former NFL tight end, Vernon Davis, is in it too.
Nice.
Yeah, it's supposed to be like an urban drama, which could be interesting. I don't watch a lot of those, but if you can hit a drama good and hard, I can appreciate, those kind of movies as well as the horror and comedy that I usually watch.
It's pretty cool. Oh, I feel old
otherwise,
now.
there's not a ton of Vikings related to news out there. It's a quiet time. But I wanted to touch on those since they're both kind of cool hits.
Nice. Well, let's do some plug-in and get out of here.
Yeah, I recently did my last rendition of the mock draft over in the Viking Age, and boy, did people not like that I didn't take a quarterback at 11.
How dare you?
There was a lot of unhappy faces in the comments section on Facebook.
That's what you get for thinking independently.
They did not like it. But yeah, you can go support my work over on the Viking Age. You can click and you can go get this guy right here, Bernie Cat. He likes cat food a lot. So he would appreciate if you could get him some cat food. Just go click on an article over on there. Or on any social media, you can go and talk to me at MNVikingZombie. You can watch our show on my Twitch channel. Or you can check me out over on X, formerly Twitter, Blue Sky, Instagram, TikTok. I am everywhere on social media. Just hit me up.
Very nice.
You can find me at Vaguely Square over on Blue Sky, my social media platform of choice. That's where I post my photography work and a lot of other stuff, so check it out.
Sorry, I was joking on my cat.
Always be sure to share anything that you like. That's always helpful.
I'm going through Adam's mock draft right now. This is awesome. Oh, I bet everybody was so mad at you.
They were not happy.
This is actually a good draft. You guys should go read this article. You can buy Kyle West's stuff here at kylewest84.picfair.com, PICFAIR. He's got some cool stuff, man. Just check out his
photography work. Do you have a website for your music yet?
I don't. I'm at a bit of a lull right now. You guys can check me out on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. Has sometimes stuff on there, but I'm trying to record this album, but money is very tight at the moment. I'm still in the process of selling my home, and thank God I have a buyer now. Once I can get a little more equipment, I think we're going to finally.
You found someone to buy that house even though it doesn't have a hot tub? What the heck?
Technically, if you turn the heat all the way, it could be a hot tub. There's just no chance. But yeah, I found someone to buy. We're in the process now of selling it, and I'm just ready to get the ball rolling with this album. I've had very good feedback from musician friends saying this is cool. This is a cool take on some original songs. I'm excited to hear what they will sound like without just me and a guitar and a full band with them. So stay tuned for that. It's kind of, I won't say on hold. I'm just in the queue waiting. Once the house is sold, we're going to get rolling with it. So stay tuned. But you can follow me here for dog things and music stuff.
I
have noticed you going live on Instagram every once in a while, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, I got bored the other day. I'm really going back into my dad rock now. I really love the music I grew up on in high school, as I'm sure a lot of us do, depending on our era. But I figured, why not? I'm going to try to make that a thing at least twice a month when I don't have my son, so I can just have people come and hang out. I think I might have to break down and do what you said and get a Twitch and put that on there too.
Which era are you in, Mr. Smith? Are you in your Reputation era, your Red era? Where are you at?
I am a 1989 Eras fan. I think that record is amazing. You know, it's good if Ryan Adams does a full cover of your entire record. You know you've made it when another artist says, "I'm going to cover the whole damn thing." I love the Taylor Swift reference. It's amazing. I'm in the butt rock era, man. I grew up on Creed and Hoobastank and Hinder and Nickelback, and everybody hated it. But man, those were all number one around for a long time. We'll see. I only play that shit because it's easy to play. I can't play Slayer and Metallica and Megadeth and shit. So you're just going to get all the 3 chords and the truth from me.
Well, I think that's all we have for this week. We'll be back maybe next week if something happens. I don't know. We've been kind of hit or miss here lately, but we always come back eventually, I think. But we will talk more Minnesota Vikings football here soon.
I just tried to wait till we had something viable to talk about. Like we've said it before on the show, but we're not going to come in and put in 2 or 3 episodes a week if there's just filler. I'm glad we had a lot to discuss here. And don't worry, guys, if you're still watching and listening, we are going to go over draft prospects, especially Kyle and I. We'll pick some, we'll talk about it, and we'll go over what we think and the highlights, the pros, the cons. But it's just not quite that time yet. Everything will start to get a little crazy here in about 2 weeks when the new league year starts. I think, March 13th or 11th or something like that?
I'm sure we'll have some stuff come out at the Combine. So we
we'll
should
talk
have
about
stuff
that.
to talk about.
All these guys are on vacation and just enjoying time with their family right now, and to include coaches too. So it'll ramp up here in about 2 weeks, and we'll have a little more to talk about.
They're resting those bodies. Kick back, relax what you can. Go sit on a beach and grab yourself a loose meat sandwich and relax.
And some Tostitos.
That's right. On that note, once again, I want to thank everyone who joined us in the chat. We love having you here. And you can check us out anywhere on pretty much anywhere podcasts are. I haven't looked to see if we're still on Apple Podcasts because I could not, for the life of me, figure out if I did that correctly to keep us on there. So if we're not there, we're sorry, but we're most every other place. But yeah, we'll be back next week to talk more Vikings football. In the meantime, stay classy in Minnesota.